LARP Safe Claws, made out of expanding foam, latex and lots of fur. I hate working with fur. I originally decided to use a fancy set of wooden hands to keep the gloves in the right shape while putting the different coats on. I'm showing here an alternative technique using metal frames and foam. I'll definitely not have to use that technique. I've got a much better method. I previously made some silicone molds for the claws, one for the finger and one for the thumb. I shaped some clay and covered that with 2-part silicone. Unfortunately, I didn't record that, so you're going to have to believe me. The 2-part expanding foam that I used is a polyurethane foam. It's pretty easy to use and is by weight mixed 2-to-1. When you're mixing it, be fast and vigorous. Don't worry about being too gentle, and it will foam up after 30 seconds to 1 minute. Silicone molds are generally more expensive to make. They are better in that you don't need to use any release agent to get the foam to be removed from the mold, and they survive a lot better. I held the mold and the glove with clamps to keep it in place and made sure that the finger was aligned correctly. Come on. Pour it. Yep. No, it's okay. We don't need to actually see what's happening when you pour it. We are confident that it's going in the hole, all of it. Look at all that overspill. Lovely. That is a little wasteful, but it does tell you that you've used enough foam. As you can see, there's a little bit of excess, but you can unceremoniously just rip bits of that off, or delicately cut it off as you personally see fit. The foam itself is self-skinning, which means that the foam will create a nice smooth skin around the surface of the mold. That doesn't mean that you can't cut and reshape it as needed for when any foam comes out of the mold. Once you've done the first one, you just rinse and repeat for every other claw. I found it better to get things mostly set up before I started mixing the foam. You may notice this point the foam is quite flimsy. Don't worry, as you add more layers of latex, it will get stiffer, so it'll hold its shape a lot better. It is supposed to be possible to work out exactly how much the foam will expand and how much initial liquid you'll need to final foam. I never managed to get that figured out. You may be able to. I just guessed and increased or decreased as needed. Pair of scissors. There we go. Doesn't that look
fancy. Now we just have to repeat that 9 more times. Obviously, because the fingers need to be a lot longer than the thumb, I made one mould for the fingers and another for the thumb. You've got to make sure primarily to ensure that the fingers are aligned correctly. Go on, wiggle it in the mould, or else you'll end up with, well, wonky claws. It is quite forgiving, but it does help to have those shiny chemistry clamps. You can either delicately cut off the excess, or as I do most of the time, just pull it off. Go on. This is number 3. Mix. That's a much better view of pouring the foam into the hole, isn't it? And then squish it down. Go on. Can you see a problem we're going to have in the future? No, neither can I. This is perfect. Oh, yes, move your hand. Yeah, you don't have to completely get the foam into the mould. Just a suggestion. This is why you make sure you produce a little more than you need, so you dribble over the top.
My amazing wooden hands seem to have broken when I was trying to get the thumb to sit in the right position. Fortunately, because of my masterful bodging skills, I was able to replace the wooden dowel that held the finger in place with a much sturdier metal one. Fortunately, I don't have to hold it in place any more than just putting it in the glove, as the glove will keep it in position. I glue it in because the glove itself actually works better than before. Look at that. The next stage is sealing the foam. You do this by mixing contact adhesive with thinner till it's the consistency of paint, and coat all of the gloves that you're going to be latexing. This is to ensure that the latex will adhere better to the foam. I've mixed some black acrylic paint into my latex, which normally comes milky white. This is to ensure that when painting the foam, it's much easier to see what I've missed. Latex is very easy to get off your hands. As you can see, I just rub my hands vigorously and it comes off. Make a note, it's best not to rub the latex off your hands over the top of some latex that you want to use for later. This is my fantastic drying room. You don't need one, but they are handy to speed up the drying process. You'll want to paint on 2 layers of latex with a foam brush. If you have the wrong sized foam brush, you can cut them down to a smaller size. When painting on the foam, you want to make sure that you get full coverage, but you don't paint on too thickly. These first 2 layers are simply to seal the foam and make sure it's all covered in latex. This is my large tub of liquid latex. Breathe that stuff in and you'll get a lung full of ammonia. That's how pee gets its smell.
There's probably some health and safety warnings that I should be giving right now, but you know. You may want to use a mask at this point, but I've been playing with latex for so long, you know.
And this is what's known as the dunk coat. Dunk coats are extra thick layers of latex. They're generally twice as thick as a painted coat, and how you will be getting most of the thickness onto your project. Once you've covered the entire piece with the latex, you need to make sure to blow off any bubbles that you have on the piece and remove any dribbles before they dry. The last thing you want is a dried blob at the end of your claws. Oh no, it seems my wooden hands aren't as awesome as I hoped they'd be. The fingers are sticking together. I hope this doesn't mess things up too badly. Cutting the fingers apart isn't really an ideal solution. Well, try as I might, this isn't going to work. The wooden hand is useless. The fingers are pinching the glove and they're sticking together because of the latex. Oh, this is destined for the bin. All that time, effort and materials wasted. Happy days. Oh well, the next one's going to be so much better when I actually go to the effort of making a proper set of template hands. Joy.
metal frame. It doesn't have to look pretty because this isn't going to be part of the project. Carefully and precisely cutting lengths of foam and contact gluing them together. Many makers have their favourite type of contact glue. I just use whichever's cheapest. If you have to decide what tool you want in your workshop, get a table. My table sander is amazing. Finger 1, finger 2, come on, finger 3, finger 4, and finally the thumb. Next comes the palm. Contact glue. Liberally swoosh it around everywhere and hammer all the bits in place, just making the fingertips. We now have a foam hand. This time I remember to put the latex glove on. This will definitely make removing the glove a lot easier later when I can actually put the glove on. Go on, put the glove on. Go on. No, yes, no. There we go. And as you can see, when you make the hand yourself, it works perfectly. You can position the fingers exactly how you like. Finger 1, finger 2, finger 3, finger 4, finger 5, finger 6, finger 7, finger 8, thumb. Yeah, I forgot this the first time. It's kind of lucky that I messed up. No. I did it all intentionally. Yes, that's it. Sounds much more professional, doesn't it? This is the pads that will go onto the palm of the hand. It is, after all, an animal's paw, so it needs pads and, of course, toe beams. A multi-tool is amazing for shaping foam, useful in general, to be honest. Get one. Liberally add more contact glue and add the pads onto the palm. Add your watered down contact glue. Painting on 2 layers of latex.
and the dunk coat. Blowing off our bubbles. Making sure to catch all the dribbles. That's 3 or 4 dunk coats, depending on how thick you want it. My air compressor, which I keep at roughly 4 bars pressure. And this is how you'll spray on the final layers of latex. Always make sure that your flow is good before you actually spray onto your piece, and keeping a nice even distance at all times. It can be a little difficult when what you're spraying is such an awkward shape as this, but just make sure you catch everything. I'm probably not that good at spraying, but it does the job. You'll usually want to do 1 layer of black latex sprayed onto your piece, and then you'll start with the final coat. This can be generally mixed with acrylic paint in whatever colour you want. Because the piece I'm making just needs to be black, I'm going to be spraying 2 layers of black latex onto my piece. Once the latexing is done and you're all happy with the piece, the final stage is to seal the latex with Isoflex Clear Coat Primer. As you can see, I've sealed the can in layers of tape. I'm wearing my overalls, latex gloves and mask. You may have guessed this isn't nice stuff. This is well ventilated room time. I tend to have a shower afterwards because it's not nice. Now we're almost done. The final stage is adding the fur. Yay. Have I mentioned I hate fur? Before you can put the fur on, you need to work out the template. This is done by, as you can see here, coating it with very low tack tape. This will give you an idea of the shape of the fur that will be going onto the prop. The aim is to cover all of the parts of the prop that you want covered in fur with tape, and then removing the tape, copying it onto a flat bit of paper, and then tracing that onto your fur. Easy. A quick warning about the tape you'll be using to mask the prop. Make sure you use very, very low tack tape. Even masking tape has a habit of pulling the latex off the foam when it's removed. It took me a while to find the right kind of tape. I ended up using this yellow frog tape. It's ultra low tack. And now the fur. I hate working with fur. Professionals will say that you can cut it in such a way where you won't get fur everywhere and it won't get up your nose. They lie. Whenever you touch fur, you'll always get some on your face, in your nose. Joyous. You can cut fur in two ways. One with a sharp knife, much sharper than the one I'm using here, or with a pair of scissors using a lot of very small cuts. This is to ensure, as you can see here, the fur isn't removed with the cut. This reduces, in theory, the amount you get up your nose, but you'll still get some up your nose. If you fold over the edges of the fur using a hot glue gun, you will ensure that once the fur is stuck onto the piece, you won't see the edges of the material. This will give you a much better and more professional looking finish. It is quite fiddly though, but don't worry if it looks bad from this side. You won't notice it once it's on. You can use contact adhesive to stick the fur onto the piece, but I've used hot glue here. It's up to you. You don't have to be too delicate when affixing the fur here. You can pull and push it into place and use the hot glue to fix it. Blowing on the fur can help keep it out of the way while you're gluing it into place. The last thing you want is hot glue mixed into your fur. Here we go, removing the hand from the glove. It's much easier since I remembered to put the silicone glove on this time. Finally, gluing around the toe beam. There we go. It's difficult to exactly see what I'm doing here, but basically what you're doing is gluing around the top of the hand, around the edges of the fur and around the paw pad to affix the fur into position. Sealing the edges where necessary. Using very strong thread, which I doubled in the needle, I sew the rim of the glove to the fur. This is to ensure that when pulling on the glove, you have no risk of ripping off the glove or having to fiddle getting the glove on. Small crocodile clamps help keep the glove and fur in place. Make sure when you're sewing the glove in to keep stretching the material, because the glove is stretchy, the fur isn't. So you want to make sure that both stretch around the hand. Once you have sewn around the edge of the glove, you will then sew down the sides, connecting the top and bottom together. And finally, if the circumference of the fur isn't big enough, you can add an extra triangular piece of fur to the arm. And there you go. You have a finished LARP Safe set of claws. You may want to give the latex a quick spray of silicone lubricant just to reduce their tackiness, and it also helps to keep the latex young and supple longer. Thank you.